Hello dear participants, welcome to a new tutorial from Logi Owl presented by me, Joseph, and my dad, Sami Khiami.
Okay, since Joseph decided to start himself today, I will be talking about the details in our session for today. We are going to cover the issue of edge bridge. So the concept of edge bridge is very important. So this is why, and it's a little bit complicated for some people, or can be seen as complicated subject, but it's very easy if you just understand the concept. Why we are targeting that issue, so the edge bridge circuit, this is used to control the motors when we are talking about robotics application. So if you need to control a DC direct current motor, so you normally use the edge bridge to be able to control the motor run in two directions. So this is what we are going to cover today. First, we will start by drawing the circuit and explaining the main concepts. Then we will have the questions about that from Joseph, if he has any questions, just to be able to dig into the subject and know more about it. Ready? Let's start. So let's start with simplified drawing for the edge bridge circuit. Okay, do you remember, Joseph? It was something like this. Sorry, I need to be able to control it more, just to have a better drawing. So in the edge bridge circuit, so why it has the edge name? Because like you see here, we have that like that edge shape here. Okay, so with the edge bridge circuit, normally we will have like the source of power, and this is the like positive pole, and normally this is represented like this. This is the positive, and the ground will be something like this again. And we mentioned that the edge bridge, the main cause that we are talking about the edge bridge circuit, is to use it to move the motor in two directions using one one circuit itself. So without having to change like the positive and negative. Okay, so we don't want to change the positive and negative. We will use that circuit to be able to control the flow of the flow of the energy inside that motor. So if it is from positive to negative or negative to positive, depending on that, the direction of the motor itself will be different. So the motor will be on that place here. Remember, always the motor on the like line, the H line here. Okay, and just to make it a little bit clearer, I will move that and I will put M here. So this is the motor. And normally the motor will have like two sides, like I will name it positive and negative, and depending on how the current will flow in the motor, this will decide if the direction will be that way or that way. Okay, so and in the edge bridge, so you see we have the source, the plus, the minus here, and the motor in the middle. Now the edge bridge depend on 4 switches. So if we go back here, like in that circuit, we have like 4 places where we have switches. The switch is a part of the circuit. It is controlled. We can switch it on and off, so we can complete the circuit or to close it or to open it. If the circuit is open, the current will not be able to pass through that part. Okay, so let's represent it like this. So this is normally here, 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 and there. Okay, so This is the main like way to use the edge bridge. So you remember, Joseph, how we and when like the motor will turn in one way and how to change it to turn in a different way? Do you remember that, how we do that?
No.
No. So normally we have, like as I mentioned, 4 switches. I will copy that shape here just to reuse it. Okay. Okay. The first like situation, if we close that switch, so normally switches are represented like this line to represent the switch. Okay, so if we close the switch, it will be something like that. Okay, so I'm saying that we close that switch and that switch. If we close those 2 switches, so how do you think that the current will go through that circuit? So it will start from here, going that way. It cannot continue up there because like it is not like the circuit is opened. So it will follow the closed circuit. So it will go that way. Okay, continuing through the motor. And it cannot go down because it's open here. So it will go up. There. So with that, we have the current pass through from the minus through from the negative to positive through the motor, and you notice that it is moving that way. Okay, which will cause the motor to follow that current and move in a specific direction. Now, if we close, this is the second situation, if we close that part here and that part here and keep those 2 opened, so I will make that to be more obvious. This is opened and this is opened, and in the second case this is opened and this is opened. Okay, so in the second case, you see that the current cannot pass in the same way because that one is opened. So that part is open. Let's give a number for those. So I'll give here 1, 2, and 3. So we can use the numbers 4, and this is 4, 3, and 1. And 2. So as you see here, we cannot use the same route here to go through the circuit because the switch number 4 is open, not in the same case with the shape A. I'll call that shape B just to refer to those, and shape A. With the scenario A, as you see, we moved from the minus pole to through the 4 switch, then through the motor to the switch number 3, then to the positive pole. But here we cannot use the same direction because the switch 4 is opened. So the current will follow the closed circuit. So it will go that way this time, going up, and now it cannot continue through the switch 3 because it's opened. So it will have to go that way through the motor, then continue that way. Now it cannot go down for sure because the switch 4 is open, so it will follow the closed switch. So going up through the switch 1 to the positive pole. With that in mind, you see that we have the current moving in different direction. Okay, so moving to the second camera, this is the implementation of Edge Bridge. Actually, this circuit here is called L298N, and it contains two Edge bridges. And this is normally used to control motors. And why this is very important type of implementation, because one of the thing, it is two edge bridges, and which is good, like we can control the two motors. The motors can connect through that part. So this is for the positive and negative for the motor 1, and this is for positive and negative for motor 2, and we will see in a later video how we are going to do the real implementation of that. But here what I'm interested in is the like circuit itself. And the good thing about it, like the ability to isolate. So with that, we can isolate, with that circuit, we can isolate the running of the motors from the Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi cannot provide enough energy to run motors, and because it generates a very low ampere on its PG general GPIO, general purpose input output. We cannot use that to run a motor. We can use it for a LED. This is sufficient for a LED, but this is not sufficient for a motor. So we need different source of input, like of power, for the motors itself. So with that, we are having the control. So we are using those pins just to do the control. You see here we have 4 pins. I don't know if this is clear enough.
Where?
Here, those 4 pins.
Yeah.
Those will be connected to the Pi to do the control, and that part here will be responsible of connecting. This will be the ground, and that part here will be connecting the positive for the external source of energy that will run the motors. So the motors will not be running through the energy coming from the Pi. They are going to run through the energy coming from that one. So the ground is shared. So this is the positive for the like source of energy, and this is the ground, and this is the positive for coming from the Pi. So the responsibility of the Pi is only to run what is sufficient to run the control part, not to provide the motors with the ability to run. So what comes to the motors here are provided by that external source of energy. Okay, so this is all about, so we are going to cover in details how to use the L bridge and to implement that directly with motors. But for now, this is all for this session. I wanted just to show you the that piece. So for implementation, to know what we are talking about. Again, this is the L298N. And it's very good to use with Raspberry Pi and to do that implementation for 2 edge bridge at once. The final, any questions, Joseph?
No.
Any questions?
No.
So you understand everything about that?
Yeah.
Can I ask you some questions?
What?
Okay, so why do you use those 2 and those 2? I'm sorry, those 2 and those 2. This 2 and this 2.
Motor.
Like just to run the motor. So this is for the first motor and this is for the other motor.
Yeah.
Okay, so and normally one of the main usage of that kind of circuit is to be able to do the isolation, as I told you, from the power coming to run the motors and the power generated by Raspberry Pi, because as we mentioned, if we connect a motor to Raspberry Pi directly, it will be damaged. Okay, this was all about our session for today. We spoke about the bridge, edge bridge circuit, and we showed you the implementation of that as L298N circuit, and we learned how to use it and how it is controlled. So we will be having like a detailed explanation about the L298 N and how to use it to control motors with a full tutorial, but we're done for now. And thank you, Joseph, for helping me for this session. So this was all, and I hope you join us with the coming sessions that will cover robotics issue related to controlling the physical world with Raspberry Pi. Thank you, Joseph.
You're welcome.
Okay, done?
Done.
Okay, bye.
Bye.